rapid fire question. Why does this feature need to exist? Hi, welcome to another very interesting episode of the LeadSquared Podcast, where we meet some of the very prominent leaders of India's startup ecosystem. Today, we have a very special guest, Siddhartha Nihalani, co-founder of Practo. Practo, which is a household name in India in the healthcare space. I am Prashant Singh, co-founder of LeadSquared, and I hope you are going to enjoy this conversation. Okay, Siddharth, welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you, Prashant.
Thank you, Prashant.
So before we start, आप कहाँ से हैं? Where are you from? I mean, which part of India?
Prashant, I am from Assam, born and brought up there. Schooling वगैरह वहीं पे करी है. And then eventually for college, higher education, I moved to Karnataka, a place called Surathkal on the Karnataka coast.
NIT Surathkal.
NIT Surathkal.
Okay.
So I was there. Met my other co-founders there, Shashank and Abhinav. We were batchmates in Surathkal.
अच्छा, आप
And
सब
we were together in college. Yeah.
Okay.
2009.
Same department, same
Different departments, same hostel.
same hostel,
Yeah.
same year. Of
Same year,
graduation?
same. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay,
Yeah.
I see.
We were together, and then the seed for Practo was sown back in college itself. So by the time we were in third year, Abhinav and Shashank were already doing Practo. It was not called Practo back then, but they were doing a tech startup in the healthcare space
I see.
back then. And then I joined a year after that. By the time we graduated is when I got a call from Abhinav, and he pitched an idea of pursuing a dream that he had, and it seemed very exciting, so I joined.
I see. So what was the genesis of this idea in, of Practo? I mean, any experience, anything that...
So we were engineers, builders back in college. I think we were excited about what can be done with technology. We had learned to do things on the internet. We figured out कि websites बना सकते हैं. We can get consumers to come check out the websites. We found who can be good potential buyers of these websites. Among the couple of kind of people that we went to, doctors seemed to be interested. They wanted to be on the internet, they wanted to be discovered, they wanted to put their own .coms on their visiting cards, they wanted their patients to find them. So that coincidentally was a place where we found a good fit. I mean, or Shashank and Abhinav back then found a good fit. So before I think college got over, a couple of dozen, 2 dozen customers were already using our services back then.
Okay.
And then that kept growing on, and we kept meeting these doctors, kept trying to understand what is it that they look at technology for. One core problem that we identified was they had to manage their schedules, which was a problem. Which patient is coming at what time? When do I turn up at work? What does my day look like? If I have to give an appointment to a patient who's asking, when am I free? That management across the doctor, his staff was complicated. That seemed like something technology could help with. And that was the first product that we launched back in 2009.
So this was which year? I mean, I think
2009 is when we graduated. And that is when this the appointment scheduling software got started. A year before that was a bunch of other services that we're still doing for doctors.
I see. And if I recall correctly, this was initially a doctor's office management software.
Absolutely.
Scheduling being the core piece of it.
That's where it started.
And it was like a sort of cloud offering, may not be fully SaaS, but cloud offering, right?
It was a complete SaaS from day zero. SaaS from day zero.
Okay. So prior to founding LeadSquared, we had a company called Proteans.
Sure.
So current set of co-founders.
Sure.
There we were serving American ISVs, and many ISVs were actually healthcare companies.
Okay.
So we were building this practice management software for small healthcare offices, and something that I personally designed was called HOM, or Healthcare Office Manager, right?
Got it.
So I could, when you guys started, then I was following in the news, and I could sense that you have found a similar need in India, right? Which we were doing, and so yeah.
You could exactly describe it like that. Healthcare office management software is what that'll be the closest one.
I see.
We used to call it a practice management application, but then you had to explain to the doctor what a practice application management application meant.
Correct. So initial experience कैसा था selling into Indian doctors? How was it selling a SaaS offering?
Yeah, so most of them were moving from pen and paper to software. And maybe I could say that they were early adopters to technology. There were doctors even back in 2009 who were very keen, who were thinking this is the future, and they adopted. It was maybe, 5-7% of the market was very upfront and very open about it, and they wanted to try out how this can change the way they work, and those were the guys who probably built the product with us. I could even say that, right? Because many ideas on what the software could do came from our customers. So I think Shashank was the guy in the field. Me and Abhinav were the guys in office coding. So we had only 2 roles in the company. Either you're a seller or you're a builder. और third कोई department था नहीं हमारे पास. So Shashank, and then of course there were other people who were selling along with him. So they would come back every evening, tell us what they heard in the market, what feedback doctors are saying, and then that would create the next product requirements and then next features. So product practically doctors के input से ही बना है. First 3-4 years was just that.
I see. And can you paint a picture of Practo today?
Sure.
So I think 2009, 10, right? I mean, 15 years. And I mean, it has changed a lot, right? I mean,
Absolutely.
So can you just paint a picture what Practo is focusing on doing today?
Sure. So, like I said, we started off as a practice management application. Around 2013 is when I would say we did a first pivot and launched our first consumer offering, where as a consumer, you could come to Practo, you could express your healthcare need, tell us your geography, and we'll match you with a appropriate doctor. That was a 2013 offering, and then it has by now become the core focus that we're known for. We manage about 8 million odd appointments every year now. That is the number of appointments that consumers come, they take this decision on who to go to, and then they book on Practo every year. So, and that has become the primary reason consumers come to us for, and why they choose Practo to be the destination to make this decision is because we have now crowdsourced about 3 million odd patient stories from patients who have gone to these doctors and shared what was their experience. And that is the real reason consumers come to us for, because they feel that is a much better decision parameter than asking a family or friend. You can now take inputs from thousands of people who have experienced your same symptom, gone to a provider and had good, bad, or not so good experience. And that is the reason people come to us for.
Okay.
And we do this, we've been doing this in India for about a decade, little over a decade now. We've just started this in the UAE. Sometime last year, we launched a consumer offering in the UAE, and we just announced it about a week ago. Finally, so it's beyond like a pilot now, and we're scaling business there. So those are the two. That's the primary market, primary business for Practo. And apart from that, we also have a SaaS offering that we sell in the Middle East, which is a full-fledged hospital management application. We do that as well.
Okay. So I would presume that the marketplace business is the majority of the business revenue.
Right. So we call that business as something we term internally as care navigation.
Care navigation.
Okay. So it is helping a consumer decide how to go about their care. They have a symptom and they're now in the journey of deciding which provider to go to. And the journey doesn't actually end at deciding the provider. It actually starts there. So you meet a doctor, he may prescribe tests or he may diagnose you, and then eventually there will be a treatment prescribed and that will get completed. That entire journey is what Practo aids is we help navigate the journey for a patient.
Okay.
We call that whole thing.
And this is in India or?
This is in India. This has been in India for some time, and in the Middle East just started.
Okay. I see. And would you be like number one player in this space? I mean, this...
In India, yes. I think we expect about 5% of all healthcare in India shows up on the internet as searches. And of that, we have the majority.
Okay.
But the thing is, the market penetration of people going to the internet to solve the problem is small. So the category is still very nascent.
Correct.
Compared to, let's say, travel or compared to food, compared to taxi hailing. The penetration of technology itself overall is quite low right now.
Correct. So जैसे मैं तो, if I have to find a doctor, so I go to Practo. I basically near my location, right? इस specialty में कौन सा doctor है?
Exactly.
Then I look at the rating and reviews.
Right.
And
decide
based on that. That's my behavior. I'm assuming that
absolutely
similar behavior will be of people who usually prefer to discover by themselves, right?
Correct.
I see. Okay. So India and Middle East, these are two
markets.
You're not present anywhere else, right? Or
there is ambition to go beyond, but today, yeah, these two. And I think this year we think making the international playbook work in the Middle East is the primary goal for the business. Trying to make this sustainably grow in the Middle East. That's the idea.
I see. Okay. And I think you have made some acquisitions in the journey, right?
Right.
How has that spanned out? I mean, all of them have worked out, or?
Yes and no. I think one of the key acquisitions back in the day was a practice management application itself. What it's called an HIS application, Hospital Information System application. You can think of it as an ERP for a hospital. So that is one of the companies we had acquired, Insta Health, and that's the primary provider that we use in the Middle East. So all across Dubai and Saudi, that's the product that we offer to consumers. And actually, they currently work not just in those two countries, but about 15 countries outside the Middle East also. We manage that whole sales from India, and that was one of the acquisitions which has worked out really well. And it's a very strong product, and it's deeply now integrated with the insurance networks in the Middle East. The government has a central insurance portal, and we are one of the first few people who completely integrate with that. So you can do a paperless, cashless insurance transaction through the Practo Insta software.
So why? So this is successful in Middle East.
Yes.
Why not in India? I mean,
in India, we do have customers in India, but I think it's not a business focus right now. There are about 100 plus insurance HIS companies in the country, and differentiators weren't really there, and they were at all price points. So there's a price point for very large corporate hospitals, which is almost a services business, where they want customizations in every module, and you have the likes of Infosys and everybody is solving the top tier corporate market. And then there is a long tail, of course, after that, which then has, like I said, a couple of hundred odd providers, and we were not able to find the right market fit at the right price point. So, but at the same time, we found good traction in the Middle East. We had a partner sales model there, which started doing very well. And then at some point, we took a leap of faith and we put our own sales team there, which again started growing very well. So all the focus is there. And then healthcare basically is quite a domain specific, and there is also nuance in local law, regulation, and insurance. So the product sort of has got very tuned to the market requirements there.
I see. Somehow I have, I think I know that in India, HIS, there's a lot of vendors, right? We integrate with many of them. We integrate Practo also, right?
Yes.
In Middle East. And it's very fragmented. A lot of vendors have some market share, but it's very hard to find anybody kind of dominating the space.
That's right.
And it has been true for even for say an SIS system equivalent of that, and a school ERP. Right?
Sure.
In automobile dealer management system. Somehow, I mean, I have not been able to fully kind of understand why is that the case, that this is core business software, right? There are tons of companies which are in the space. Nobody is big enough, right? So either customers are using them, or customers are using very, very expensive software, right? Then there is a tier 1 ERP software, right?
Exactly.
They are using that.
Yes.
There is nobody in the middle.
Right.
So I think entrepreneurs may be thinking it's an opportunity, but why nobody has cracked it, it's still, no, I don't have an answer. So.
Right. I think finding the right pricing and the right market fit is a challenge for most people. And like you said, it's fragmented, and I also see it's very regional. The prominent software in Maharashtra is different from the guys in Delhi. So it's extremely regional as well.
I see. So healthcare is highly regulated, as you know. I mean, I think you alluded to that. So how have you dealt with that? Is it like is it tech first play to deal with regulation, or process? So I mean, I'm sure it would evolve a period of time, and you're dealing with India regulation, you're dealing with UAE and Saudi Arabia, right? So how do you manage that?
I mean, it's probably most important, I think, in this space to build trust. Trust gets built with processes. So things like data privacy and things like access control are paramount. Like we have to build this from day zero. Like if you are a doctor who is a user of a Practo software, does not give anybody at Practo a right to look at any of your data. That is the principle on which we built our SaaS from day zero. That once you get the fundamentals right, when you define what you can and cannot do, how will you treat certain data, it becomes relatively easier when there are actually regulations to comply, because you have been doing it as second nature throughout. That is what I would say we've had. And I think regulations were really challenging when it came to telemedicine. We launched telemedicine a couple of years before COVID. It was a product that you could use on Practo. And back then, it was a little bit in a gray area. It wasn't really classified as valid, but it wasn't also against. So, and then we had issues. We had some doctors agree to it, not agree to it. And the whole adoption of the technology was very low, primarily on the doctor side, because they were trying to be cagey and not be sure. But I think what really helped was our medical team, our legal team had tried to work with the government before COVID to actually give this shape in the country. And then finally, when COVID happened, regulation was launched, I think, in the first month itself, and where they really said what is okay, what is not okay, what can you prescribe on the telemedicine, what you cannot, which conditions can be treated, which cannot. And we were the first ones to comply and launch. And I think we got a good benefit of that. Telemedicine became one of the first things of Practo that many consumers tried during COVID. That was the first introduction to online healthcare for a lot of consumers during COVID. And I think, there the regulation is quite specific, and we've been, of course, compliant.
I see. Yeah, and I recall those days, actually. I think we collaborated with Practo and I think one more company.
Yes.
In order to, stitch a solution, right, which is working for doctors in case of COVID, right?
Exactly. Exactly. Yes.
Yeah, I'm glad that our technology could help.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think, so we had some fundamentals there, but the COVID was a time of, I think, I don't think anyone has worked that hard in those couple of first few years of COVID, right? I think the tech companies had a really hard time solving for the consumer need, because the need was very much there. The care navigation need that I spoke about, it was the same need. It just had to be served in a different mode. That's all that changed. And that new mode had to be created compliant with the regulation. So it was an interesting time.
I see. So is telemedicine also part of the cared navigation?
So we call that a separate division. It's called virtual care, where care is delivered completely without touch, virtually. And again, it has a spectrum of specialties and use cases for which consumers come to us. And that's a separate business.
Is it growing, fast growing? I mean, in India?
It's grown many-fold than pre-COVID. But since the peak of COVID, of course, it's a little smaller than what it was at the peak of COVID. But it's grown many-fold. Like it was a very small category pre-COVID. But now it's substantial. It's doing very well, and it's been a profitable business on its own at Practo.
But I mean, the consumer behavior to change, that their virtual care is the first line of care.
Yes.
Do you foresee that happening?
Absolutely. We see that completely happening. There are a couple of categories that do really well. And the one that I think we see the most use case right now is what we classify internally as minor ailments, which is your cold, cough, stomach upset, and all of those, right? That is where we see in a lot of cases, this has become the first port of call. You triage your condition, you decide how sick you are. And when in doubt, you could just do a virtual consult and then either medicate or maybe you're serious enough that you need to get in-person care, and that decision is now backed by a medical opinion. So that is the category that we see the most adoption right now. But apart from that, there are many other categories, including skin care, mental health, sexual health. We see a lot of adoption.
I see. So this again is a strong focus area, right?
Absolutely.
What about diagnostics? I mean, is there a play there?
So we offer diagnostics through providers, through other partners, third-party providers.
Okay.
And so we take the consumer's need, we service it through a third party.
Okay.
We have many partners in different geographies.
I see. So how do you think about future growth? It would be on the back of this managed
Care navigation.
Care navigation. and the SaaS offering, right? I mean,
Yes, those are the two core things. We also are very bullish about virtual care also, and we think more categories will open up, and consumers are already starting to get comfortable getting care virtually. There are many cases and conditions where an actual in-person meeting with a doctor is not required. You can give as much
it's not
care.
required. I mean,
It's not required.
I think the issue is trust.
Absolutely.
Right. I mean, if I have a doctor friend,
right,
and I have a family doctor friend, right,
Correct.
and most of the treatments for my family, my kids, right,
right,
they are virtual, right.
Absolutely.
In many times, a doctor will ask you to show your tongue, and
Exactly.
cameras are pretty good nowadays, right?
Exactly.
And they will prescribe, and you're okay.
Exactly.
It's a matter of trust.
Exactly. And what we also realize now with virtual care, right, we are actually able to have a complete track of what happened in that whole medical episode, right? From what the symptom was to what the treatment was. Was all the history taken? Was all the allergies asked about? Was there a conflict in what the patient is saying and what the treatment outcome or prescription was, which in a physical consult is not possible.
True.
So this actually is far more controlled, true to the protocol that our medical team recommends.
And you can audit also using AI, right? Now you can audit also what happened, what transpired, what should happen.
That was the first few places that Practo had put AI a couple of years back, was to audit these consults.
Okay.
And what it is also doing is creating a huge bank of data. We know over the last couple of lakh consults what's happened, which symptom meant which treatment, or which symptom meant what tests. And we can then use that data to tell the next consult while it's happening to the doctor to aid his decision making, if he's going to make a mistake or not.
I see.
So it's an interesting space, and I think that is where technology will really change. I mean, like you already mentioned AI, right? We think AI today is a tool to assist the doctor, but with some human supervision, with the doctor in the loop, the AI can do a lot of this itself as well already. So on the Practo app today, you could try something we call the Care AI. You could tell it symptoms, and it won't prescribe medicines, but it could tell you all about that symptom, what it possibly could mean, could not mean, and what could be the next steps that you should take. And in which cases you should talk to a doctor. It goes up to that plan.
So do you foresee, like in next 5 years, the AI agents, so to say, right? I mean, they are doing bulk of the questioning and diagnosis, and doctor is kind of doing the review and certifying.
Definitely. I can't imagine
sampling, right? I mean,
I can't imagine any other future. It is going to go there.
It is going to
go there for sure.
Yeah, I mean, because I think the way things are becoming intelligent.
Yes.
And ultimately, the doctor is prescribing based on a lot of personal experience, right?
Right.
I think, and if that experience is codified,
yes,
right, then you can
absolutely.
I see. Interesting. So I think we spoke about trust, right? So are there any kind of principles, values within the company which kind of, because trust is most important in your business with
absolutely,
right? So how do you emphasize that on everyday basis?
Sure. So we have a framework within the company where if there is a conflict of a decision, we have a framework which decides how will one go about resolving the conflict. And so if a conflict happens, then on top we would put vision of the company. That is the first qualifying criteria. So if something is against the vision, it doesn't get done. And if it's okay with the vision, the second one we'll optimize for is a user, an end user of Practo. So that will come next to vision. And then...
and do you kind of prioritize between doctor and patient in that end user? Or both
are two sides of the same equation. Both are two sides of the same equation. But yeah, I don't think there is any between them. It's both the sides matter equally. And and then after that would be a Praction, and after that would be a Practo investor, and afterward that would be me. So it's a vision, user, Praction, which is an employee of the company, and then an investor of the company, and then finally me. So that helps resolve conflicts. And whenever there is a conflict between any of these two, right? It's a very simple. So that gets quoted in meeting rooms, and then conflicts get auto resolved.
Yeah. Founder is always at the bottom.
Absolutely.
So what what was the genesis of this framework? What made you create this framework? When did you create it? I mean,
I think
so some story would have been there as
it is heated debates between all of us in the early years, and then going back and thinking what would have been a logical outcome to those meetings, and then I think Shashank finally came up with this, saying this could be a guiding principle when in doubt and debate, and give logic to sometimes these debates can go on forever, right? So you need a principle that you can always keep going back to, and this has stuck for the last 17 years now.
I see. Okay. Interesting. So has your role personally changed a lot over a period of time from the founding days?
It has actually, yeah.
So founders has to wear all the hats that I I'm fully aware of. But what you are doing, I mean, I think you started as a developer, right?
Yes.
You were a software developer.
Yes.
And and you are taking care of product, a lot of things today. So how it has evolved over a period of time?
Sure. It's been an interesting journey. I began as an engineer and then led the engineering team for a few years in the beginning. I think maybe things I would be interested back in the day was building the right infra, building the right scalable solutions, trying to build reusable systems. Those were the how or how to build something was what was exciting back maybe up to 2015, 16. I think that is what was the motivation every day, right? I could just come back and build a system that could get used by a couple of million users. And then at some point, I think the why started becoming more important. And around that time is when I finally moved to the product team, deciding what Practo builds in the next year or 2 years. And that became thing. And then being relevant to users, being user-friendly, being valuable to consumers, both doctors and consumers, that became the motivation more than the how. It became what and why. Why does this feature need to exist? So that was a journey, I think, for me. It was a good learning curve back then. Kafi kuch seekhna padna pada. And then last couple of years have changed again. The role is now a business role. It's managing the care navigation business for Practo. Okay. That's what I do right now. And so basically, you have to be relevant to the consumer, but you also have to be sustainable to the business. I think through COVID, many Indian startups went from being in a high burn mode to being sustainable and eventually profitable. I think we've also done that journey last couple of years. So it's been again a good learning experience last couple of years, where what is good for business and good for the user and scalable, you need to balance all the three. I think that is where I've come to now.
I see. Interesting. So looking forward, what would be the growth drivers for the business? Would it be, I'm sure AI will be a deeper part of the story, right?
Sure.
But are you looking at expanding the market share within India and within Middle East geography?
Sure.
Are you looking at expanding to other geographies? Any other product play or any other big feature which can be net revenue creator? And so how are you thinking about growth, right?
Sure. So I think the primary focus for growth is India. I think there is, like I said, the market penetration of the category itself is quite low. We think that can grow many-fold from where it is right now. How many consumers use the internet for healthcare and then Practo for healthcare? I think that has to grow a lot. How we should go about that, how we think we will go about that, is being more relevant to people in different episodes of their health. Like I said, one end was minor ailments. Another, somewhere in the middle, is what we call secondary care ailments, which are things that probably require a hospital visit. And then on the extreme end are critical ailments, where you have like cancer and maybe heart disease and all of those, right? And the consumer journey is very different in these. And what we've spent the last couple of years is figuring out what is it that matters to a consumer in these journeys. How can we solve that problem relevant to that consumer? When you are trying to decide a dentist for yourself versus an orthosurgeon for your parents, it's a very different decision tree. And can Practo be relevant to you at both the times? Right? And we're going deeper there. And we think a lot more data from the providers can be brought out and given to you. including things like infrastructure being offered at the facility, pricing being offered, payment options being offered, quality, and most importantly, probably medical outcomes that the providers has had in the past. Right? If you were given all of this, you will take a much more sound decision. So I think our right now effort is to collect as much of this data as possible and make it available to consumers. That I think is what will convert a lot of non-technology users to come and use technology.
So are you also thinking about penetration to say tier 2, tier 3, tier 4 cities of India? Because that's where the healthcare is not, you don't find great doctors, great hospitals in villages, right?
Absolutely.
And I happened to be in one of the meetings with CM of UP, right? And he was also mentioning that telemedicine has a great future, right?
Absolutely.
And he would encourage companies to come and set up telemedicine infrastructure along with government of UP.
Sure.
So I think because I personally see it, there is, if you want to find a great doctor, you have to go long distance, right? And if the primary ailments or the minor ailments you mentioned, right? And some, major ailments can be treated to a certain extent via telemedicine because, everybody has phone, internet is available, right? So I think it's an opportunity. I'm sure you'll be thinking about it.
Absolutely. I think the first time we realized that users from these cities are coming to us again was during COVID, and then for telemedicine, that use case still continues. A large portion of our, I wouldn't say majority, but a large portion of our telemedicine today also comes from tier 2 and tier 3 markets right now, and we connect them under a minute to a doctor sitting out of Bangalore, and they can get the best care that is available to them. That's today possible. How could we expand this further? I think the real equation is trust building. That's the only thing. The real reason people don't do this enough is because they don't have trust that this works. And in healthcare, you can't just be saying that trust me. You have to prove it with past experience and word of mouth and ways in which people who have experienced it can tell their family and friends. So it basically scales a little slower than other categories. Unlike many other categories, you can't sort of discount your way into user growth. That really doesn't work. We've even tried that, some small experiments, but we see that the real consumer growth happens when they've experienced it and they see it work, and then they can repeat. That takes time. So
maybe I think, and I don't know fully about the market, so it's just I'm coming out of my in the mind that maybe you can look at tying up with some governments.
Sure.
Maybe tying up with the primary healthcare center, the PSCs, right?
Absolutely.
Basically places where people are visiting, right? And they kind of trust that location, and you can supplement what the government is already doing. I think
absolutely.
Telemedicine is the way to go. It's very difficult to build great hospitals, send great doctors to every area, right? We are already short of doctors in the country, right?
That's true.
So,
and the doctor to patient ratio in those cities is quite on the thin side. We do see a lot of medical tourism happen within the country also. So somebody from north of Karnataka probably has to visit Bangalore to get a tertiary care surgery done, or a coronary care surgery definitely has to come to a place like Bangalore. So we see that traffic also quite a lot, where somebody in Dharwad, Hubli is looking at expert surgeons in Bangalore trying to decide where can they come for their treatment. So that also is a behavior we see.
And do you foresee Practo remaining basically a tech player, right? It's a tech company in the healthcare space.
Right.
Do you see yourself transforming into a healthcare company yourself?
Absolutely.
Or remaining a fully tech company? The example, I think there are companies which are, marketplace between patient and surgery, right? And they are transforming to opening hospitals, right?
Right.
Is there something like that you guys are thinking about?
So I think we will play as long as we are able to serve our consumers. I think technology is an enablement tool more than what the company is, right? We are a healthcare company aided by technology.
Healthcare company, right?
Aided by technology. Absolutely. And we think what technology brings to healthcare is another layer of data science and computer science that can actually improve medical outcomes. Like there is, of course, medical science, biology, which improves medical outcomes. But we think computer science and data science can actually improve medical outcomes. Looking like the example I gave you of virtual care, right? Where you can audit all of those virtual consults and actually make the next consult better.
Correct.
That is the use of this, right? So we think in many other categories, including even physical appointments, physical visit to hospitals, getting treatments, even those can be massively improved if they were to be technology, I would say, if their outcomes were measured, captured, and then used to improve outcomes in the future. I think that is a key role that we'll play. The vision we have set for ourselves is finally to be able to improve medical outcomes. I think that is what Practo wants to stand for. If you were to do a research on Practo, you will probably have a better outcome than not doing this. Right? And where will you get and how will you get better medical outcome is our chase. That's the pursuit for the company.
And medical devices be an area, wearables an area, of interest?
Absolutely. I think healthcare currently is extremely curative, but the lines between preventive, curative are sort of getting blurred with the tech available, right? So we think in the future, it won't be just an episode that you go to a doctor for or episode that you come to Practo for. It could just be constantly trying to stay healthy and stay out of those severe health episodes, right? And when that happens, I mean, devices definitely help in that journey.
I see. So what has been the biggest or few biggest challenges so far in the journey? I mean, it's a 15 years, and I think so companies like us, we are becoming conscious about sustainable growth, right? Long-term thinking, right? But you go through a lot, right? I mean, so what has been for you personally some of the biggest challenges in this journey so far? Is it like getting the right people or finding the right market or convincing investors or maybe something else?
Sure. I think if I look back at the journey, the hardest challenge has been getting the medical fraternity, the doctor fraternity to adopt technology.
Acha.
Right? That has been one of the hardest challenges. It started off, like I said, with the practice management software. Again, early adopters were on board, but then the masses probably still haven't come on board. A very large majority of doctors in India today still wouldn't be using technology solutions to manage their business and practice.
Yeah.
Right. And so getting that to happen is definitely a challenge. And I think if that too, because that is a preceding thing to consumers eventually coming on board. Right. We also in our journey, we began with getting providers on board, and eventually at some point when we got the consumer product in, it worked because the doctors were already there. And if that happens as masses and that adoption picks up.
Do you think that will happen? I mean, I've personally seen doctors, I mean, typically this being outsourced to front office, right? Somebody who is front office doing the billing, that person is actually using the software, not the doctor, per se. Today, I think they have computer in front of them. They look at the patient history.
Right.
Is the max use of this technology I've seen.
Yes. So there is patient data, there is scheduling data, there is billing data, and there is medical records. All of them have different value that one could derive out of it, right? The last one probably has the best impact on patients' outcomes, the medical data. And that is the one that right now we see the lowest adoption for. Because there isn't really a direct immediate benefit that you can show back to the provider today in the same month, in the same year, in the same quarter. So I'm sure there are long-term benefits that a lot of providers see who are early adopters of technology. Right? They can see that actually they get better at their craft if they track patients' journey throughout, especially the medical part of that journey, right? What symptoms people are coming with, what age group, what cohorts of consumers am I seeing, what treatments have worked and what have not worked in the past. But I think software definitely can make that far more efficient, far more productive. But so in the Middle East, how we see that adoption has really taken off is because of insurance. If you were to get treated under insurance, the entire medical history from the first appointment till the treatment completion is digitally recorded, sent to the insurer, processed digitally, and then the payouts happen. And because that became a norm, the entire tech stack had to happen to make this work.
In UAE and Saudi both, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Both of them have centrally, I would say, almost mandated protocols on how data has to get captured for the insurances to finally be able to pay the treatment. And that led to doctors looking at tech solutions and tech solutions being ready for
Makes sense. I mean,
right? That in India still hasn't happened to that degree.
Do you see that happening? I mean,
so insurance penetration first has to go up, and then the whole tech stack has to get solved. Because in India, I see still insurance is getting processed over emails, and I mean, thankfully, no longer fax machines, but it's still through emails, and it's still a manual approval. Every time you have to get an insurance claim done, human on the other end is reading through the whole notes and prescriptions and diagnosis, and then approving, disapproving, or partially approving, whatever. Right? I think all of that, if it was to happen to tech, the whole, I would say, the tool set will change, and that will make tech adoption much faster. It happened in the US, I think, maybe a decade ago, and a bunch of companies then became very relevant back in the day. Practice.
Absolutely. I mean,
so that has happened in the Middle East, and I think it's happened in a couple of other Asian markets also. Singapore and Philippines also has gone through that journey in the last couple of years.
So these will be a natural target for you going forward. I mean,
yes,
if at all the bandwidth permits, right?
Yes, potential targets.
Okay, I see. Okay. All right. So while doing research about you, my team, figured out that you have some interesting hobbies, right? Like gaming, biking, cloud surfing. So, I mean, these are like, you picked them in college or, from childhood, or what is how is the evolution of these hobbies?
Yeah, I think gaming was probably all the way back to childhood. I think probably
this gaming is computer gaming, right?
Computer gaming, yeah, PC gaming.
What kind of game? I don't know.
All kinds of everything under the sun.
I see.
So I think my first stint with computers was back in school days. It was probably playing Pac-Man or some other game from the 90s on my dad's PC. And then eventually at some point we got a PC at home. It began with gaming, but I think that's what got me hooked to technology. From gaming, it went to how a game's made. Then okay, programming is a thing, and then started building stuff back in school. So it's an old love, and I think I barely get time anymore. But for whatever, whenever possible, spend some time gaming. I think I have a good set of friends who also game.
Achha.
So we play together.
Okay.
Yeah. Couple of games.
Interesting.
Biking is a thing I maybe started off in college, and then some solo trips on my bike. But again, not something I get a lot of time to do. Maybe a Sunday ride now and then. And
so biking is like motorcycle, right?
Motorcycle biking, yeah, motorcycle biking.
So you are like
I have a KTM. I have a KTM. KTM. Not a cruiser person.
Okay.
Yeah, I have a KTM.
Interesting. Okay. And what is cloud surfing? I mean,
I really have no idea how your team figured that one out. It's a relatively newer hobby. It's basically flying radio control models in the air. So what
drones?
Drones. Okay. So they're both planes and quads. Okay. They're planes that go out a couple of kilometers away. Okay. You can fly, and you're flying them through a camera feed. The plane has a camera, and you're looking through your virtual goggles. And flying it's as close to being a pilot. I think the real pursuit was being a pilot, but I think that seemed a little far right now. No time to probably pick that up.
And where do you do this?
So we go about the couple of places in and around Bangalore that you could do this.
Okay.
We go about an hour away down South Bangalore, and then we found a nice airfield there that we can do this.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And it's a surprisingly big club. They're about every Sunday morning at 7 a.m. 20 people show up there to fly their models.
And is there a competition, some sort of competition there?
No,
is it like just for fun?
It's just for fun.
Just for fun.
Just for fun.
Okay.
People pushing each other on what they can and cannot do with their models. It's basically like engineering and building is the itch that I can see. Every one of them had an itch to build something, and it's those people. So most of the models you fly are the ones you build. So you think about it, you design it, you build it, then you go fly it. So it's end to end of like an engineering cycle, and then you see your model do well, sometimes crash, come back and redo all over again.
Interesting. Okay. Any of these has any kind of learning in the work that you do? Anything that
Absolutely. Like I said, it's a full feedback cycle from a product ideation to doing an MVP. You do something which can barely take off, and then finally having confidence to go full blow and seeing it succeed or fail. It's really like product building. I think the craft is very unique. It teaches you a lot about failures, successes, lessons learned. So when I began the hobby, I actually kept a tracker on saying what went well on every flight I did and what did not. Take lessons and put them back in the next one.
It's a serious hobby.
Yeah, I mean, because I see a lot of people give up on the way because it's hard, because you crash and then you break stuff, and then it just hurts to pick up the pieces and come back another weekend. So people give up on the way. So I thought, if I don't do the lessons, I'll also give up. But I think it's very similar to launching products, right? Over the 15 years of Practo, I think I can count more products that we have said no to than we have said yes to. Over time, you get excited about something, you think it'll work, and then in the beginning, it was a lot more intuition than listening to the user. Over time, you will realize key intuition can only take you so way, and then it's only the user feedback. I think that's the most correlation, right? So you need to understand what's working, what's not working, and be able to adopt, pivot. I think that's the only true reason startups succeed, right? They keep doing this pivots and they keep the resilience still on. I think that is what this cloud surfing / FPV hobby has.
Interesting.
You have to be resilient.
I mean, yeah, this is eye-opener.
You should join me on one Sunday morning. It'll be a nice, if nothing, you'll have a good Sunday in nature, close to nature.
So we have a rapid fire round. Before I go to that, I mean, do you worry about future, about company's future? And when I meet some founders where the companies have been a little long, right? I mean, I sometimes you see founder fatigue as well, right? Does it bother you anytime? I mean,
I think we are super excited. I think there's no better time to be a builder right now. The speed and aid that AI is giving us is just next to nothing. Like, I haven't seen products built this fast and get, I would say, irrelevant that fast. So I think it's a super exciting time. I think a lot can happen, and I think a bunch of our ideas what could take shape in a year now takes a month. Right, so that's the kind of speed. So I think very, very excited on what's possible.
Okay, great. So some rapid fire questions.
Sure.
I mean, you can take your time as well. I mean, I'll not hold you to time.
Sure.
So first tab that you check in the morning besides Practo?
Yeah, I think it's the sales tab right now. The monthly sales numbers, revenue collection, that has become second nature. Yeah.
Okay. Quote, coffee or chaos? What best describes your mornings?
Coffee. I think morning start with coffee.
Nice. Okay. One tech product you can't live without?
I think right now it would be probably Slack.
Yeah.
Okay. I think
so. We
run on Slack practically.
Okay.
Across the hundreds of employees we have. It's the one common place you can find anybody on Practo.
I see.
And every report, every data also ends up there.
A book or podcast that changed your perspective recently? There can be none also.
Yeah, I don't think. Maybe the whole series by Nitin Kamath has been quite interesting.
The podcast series?
The podcast series has been amazing. I mean, the kind of insights into businesses has been next to nothing I've seen. Like, now in the business role, I've been trying to understand categories, industries, and what makes the economics work, I think. But his take at it has been very unique.
Okay.
Very insightful.
Bike trip or gaming marathon? What's your ideal weekend escape?
I think I'm a little old for bike trips, so it'll be gaming marathon now.
I see. Most memorable feedback that you've received from a customer?
This goes back a long way. I think we were in the early years, and as part of the tech team, we used to go and do some troubleshooting, problem solving, diagnosing problems at customers' locations, at the clinics. And one customer that I remember going to, he had some issues with file storage or whatever in the software, and we were able to guide him, diagnose the problem. He had a particular file format which we wouldn't allow to upload because we didn't understand that format. But anyway, we solved that problem for him. What was the most inspiring thing was he showed us a big, huge filing cabinet, which was something like this rack where it was maybe 10x the size. And he said this is what he had designed, interior design for himself to store medical records. And then he said, all of this is going to go waste because you guys have now happened. It was absolutely mind-bending back
technology,
then. It's the power of technology.
Yeah.
So he said, ye sab ab kuch aur kam aayega. All my files I keep with you now.
AI भी ऐसे कुछ करेगा.
AI भी ऐसे कुछ करेगा. Absolutely. AI भी ऐसे कुछ करेगा. We should talk after this.
So who's one founder or leader, Indian or global, you admire deeply?
That's an interesting one.
You can say
I think it'll be Musk probably.
Musk.
Musk.
Yeah, he has a big following. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely has to be him. I was trying to put who else will trump him, but yeah, probably Musk, definitely.
Yeah, difficult to beat him.
Difficult to beat him. Like the inspirational work he's done from everything under the sun, right? From payments back in the day to e-commerce to
the diversity, variety, and being bold, taking bets.
Yeah.
Right. So
and then believing in what you think, right? The way he took over Twitter and whatever he believed, he just got
absolutely.
It done. So I think, yeah, super inspirational.
Yeah, not caring about what others.
Not caring about what anybody says.
True. Okay, last question. How frequently you shave your head?
Like it's a weekly thing. It's a weekly thing I've taught myself. Okay. It's usually once a week now.
Yeah, I'm a new one in this, so I'm learning.
Absolutely. Once a week, and yeah, it's now second nature again.
Okay. And this has been your style for long. I mean, last time I met, I think this was same. So it is like 10 years?
18 years now.
18 years?
Yeah, this was back in college.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what was the reason? I mean...
it was an odd reason.
Somebody told you great, handsome in this?
We were in the first semester of college. We were planning a trip to Goa. And then I thought it would look cool on a Goa trip.
Okay.
So I did that once. And then people said it looked great. And it just stayed.
And you've been like this forever, right? You've never tried?
I have not tried since then.
Oh, I see. Okay. You should try actually. Now you would have some gray hair, so it may look...
It may look different. I don't think there is much that will come. I do help people get hair transplants done now.
Yeah, that's my reason to do this. I mean, there's not much left actually.
Right, right. But yeah, it's been a very long time now.
Okay, great. Thank you for that.
Awesome,
Thanks so much.
Thanks for hosting.
You. Yeah, thanks for joining.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.